Is it okay to terminate a pregnancy because the fetus is not viable on its own? That's an argument we often hear in support of abortion, so we need to talk about it. Remember in the last video we started looking at a syllogism. Number 1, abortion terminates an innocent human life. 2, it's wrong to terminate an innocent human life. If those are correct, then number 3 would also be correct, which is abortion is wrong. We considered premise number 1 and determined that abortion does, in fact, terminate an innocent human life. But before we move on to premise number 2, we need to answer the argument of viability. Now, I accept that an unborn baby probably could not survive on its own in the first several months of pregnancy. But does that mean it's okay to end its life? If you think about it, the argument doesn't make any sense. No, the baby couldn't survive on its own, but what is it that makes a person able to survive on their own? There are 3 things that make it possible for any person to survive on their own, and I think we'll find that unborn babies are not the only ones that are non-viable. Here are the 3 things that are needed for viability: the ability to determine need, the ability to meet the need, and the availability of the means to meet the need. First, the ability to determine our needs. If you're going to survive, you have to understand that you have needs. Even after birth, a baby can't do this. Put a naked 5-year-old alone on the street and it probably won't survive either. Of course, this also leads to the subject of the mentally handicapped and people with dementia. If you're ever around someone who is about to die, they usually stop eating. An elderly dementia patient might even walk out in the blizzard without a coat on and freeze to death. They can't survive on their own. Does that mean we're supposed to kill them too? So, there are many people that can't survive on their own because they just don't have the ability to understand their needs. Just because an unborn baby is in the same situation doesn't mean we're justified in killing them. So first, we need the ability to determine our needs. Second, we need the ability to meet our needs. If I were to wake up one morning paralyzed and all alone, I could mentally understand my needs, but I wouldn't be able to go to the kitchen to get something to eat. And if I lay there long enough in that condition, I would eventually die. My mind would know what I needed, but physically, I wouldn't be able to do anything about it. No one in their right mind would claim that I wasn't a person, but I wasn't able to survive on my own. The third thing that we need to be viable is the availability of the means to meet the need. If a person was lost out in the desert with no food or water, they would eventually die. They would know their needs, they would have the ability to meet them, but what they need is not available. We wouldn't say they're not a person. When we find their scorched bones lying out in the heat of the desert, it would make the headlines because a person died. So a baby in the womb isn't viable, but neither are people at many other stages of life. When we call the baby a fetus, somehow we think that distinguishes it from being a human. But we don't think that when we call a person a toddler or a teenager or a senior citizen, it's just a stage of life. But it's still a person. So let's recap. We need 3 things to be viable. Number 1, the ability to determine our needs. Number 2, the ability to meet our needs. And number 3, the availability of the means to meet our needs. An unborn baby, of course, is non-viable, but neither are many other people at all different stages of life. If we're going to be so fixated on discrimination, let's talk about discriminating against a person simply because of their location, which in this case is in what should be the protective custody of the mother's body. So, we've looked at our first premise. Abortion terminates an innocent human life, and we know that even a non-viable fetus is an innocent human life. In the next video, we'll look at the second premise, that it's wrong to terminate an innocent human life.